serve in the military, the ability to sponsor a parent or a close relative, but that over a period of years. I mean, it takes many years for a child to become a citizen under the provisions in the DREAM Act, and then the relative, as I understand, would be able to be sponsored, but they would have to get in line just like everybody else, and it would be a many-year process before that could even be possible. So,
but wouldn't they would stay here anyway?
I don't know.
You know, to be sponsored.
I mean, the law is the law, and you know,
So,
I think over the last few years they've done a better job of cracking down on illegal immigration, and you know, certainly the employers who lure folks here to work illegally, those people need to be cracked down on and held accountable. And you know, Claire does not believe that anybody who came to the United States knowingly and willfully breaking the law should be allowed to stay. Go ahead. Well, so that's what we're dealing with, is, you know, some complicated issues. She is against comprehensive immigration reform. She's been against comprehensive immigration reform. She has passed a border security bill that provides additional funding to help secure our borders. She has been one of the most outspoken advocates for making sure that the government cracks down on the employers who knowingly hire illegal immigrants. And you know, with regard to the DREAM Act, like I said, as a Christian woman, she finds it difficult to punish children for crimes of their parents. But like I said before, she voted against the DREAM Act several years ago when it came up for a vote because she thought it was too broad, and she wants to be sure she knows what she's voting on, what the language is, before she makes up her mind.
Well, you know, as citizens of this country, we believed the government in 1986 when they said we're going to allow all of these people in, but that's the last time we're going to close the borders. And look what happened. And there's no talk of closing the borders first. You know, they're going to get right into the DREAM Act and this kind of thing, which is a backdoor amnesty. And the borders aren't closed. You know that, and we know that. They are not closed. I mean, every day they find huge tunnels that you could drive a truck through with loads and loads. You know, they'll come from a little house in Tijuana or someplace, and these sophisticated tunnels bringing drugs in and I'm sure humans in, possibly terrorists from another country. You know, they do go to Mexico.
There's no question that securing our borders is a top priority of Claire's. That's why she sponsored the legislation for additional funding to secure our borders. And so, I mean, I think she agrees with you about the need to make sure that our borders are secure.
But that's first. Well, you know, because this DREAM Act will just create a magnet. You know, in another 20 years, are we going to have another 12 to 20 to 100,000 people here that are undocumented?
Well, I think that, like I said before, Claire believes that a big part of the magnet of people coming here illegally is for the jobs that they can get with employers who knowingly hire them. And so that's why Claire has been a very outspoken advocate for making sure that the government deals with those employers and holds them accountable, but while also holding the immigrants who are here because they knowingly and willfully broke the law.
But they find people in the businesses. They supposedly find the employers, and they turn the undocumented workers out. They don't take them, deport them. I don't know that they even have a list of these people that they found. So, you know,
I don't know either.
you know,
but I will
it's
say
fine.
More people have been deported, and more employers have been held to account over the last few years than for years and years before. And so I think, you know, I think Claire believes that we're making progress, but certainly we have a lot more to do. Certainly.
And I don't forget the number that was deported this year, but it was a small amount of what's here, and a small amount of the ones that were working, that they know are working under the illegal, you know, employers. So I mean, to me, we're making a show of cracking down. And I agree wholeheartedly. The employers should be fined big time. Maybe we could even balance the budget that way. But, you know, I just think with the terrible job situation, how can anybody just throw away the 17 million people here that want to work and they can't find a job? I mean, people are searching, and some of them, I'm sure, have put out hundreds and hundreds of resumes, and they're taking jobs that that they are overqualified for, and yet we're going to bring in people to take jobs that our Americans should have. They should have them first, you know, and then if we find we need, you know, extra people that we don't have, then we have H-1B, H-2B. We have all kinds of ways to bring them in. In fact, we bring 1,250,000 in a year legally, and that's people that are also going to be looking for jobs.
Right. Well, I think at the end of the day, this bill, this DREAM Act bill, is about not punishing children for crimes of their parents. And certainly we have to deal with the employers who are knowingly hiring these illegal immigrants, and certainly we have to hold the people accountable who came here knowingly and willingly breaking the law. You know, these are not simple issues. These are complicated issues. And like I said, Claire wants to know what she's voting on. She wants to be comfortable with the language before she commits one way or the other.
Well, I want her to be comfortable with the language, but I want her to understand how we feel, that it just is not fair to allow people to stay here who have taken jobs for quite some time. And so it's, I don't know, we just want to ask for her vote and just have her think really hard about, you know, what the Americans are going through right now. It's not pleasant. I mean, my heart goes out to somebody that is going to lose their home. They can't feed their children. I mean, their children are important too.
Right.
And I think that that's something that she has to think about very strongly.
Well, I think she thinks about that every single day, and, you know, through many of the pieces of legislation that the Senate has passed and that has ultimately gone to the president. You know, jobs and the financial security for our middle-class families and our and others is a huge priority, if not the top priority. And I can assure you that she takes that into consideration with every vote she makes.
For 17 million people, the American dream is gone. They want a dream too.
Absolutely.
So. I also have a letter from Al Moore was here, and he had some questions that I would wish she would answer. I put his email here.
Okay.
But he made mention, he said, if you have a pipe burst in your home and your house is filling with water, what would you do first? And he equated that with the open borders. We need to seal them first. You're going to fix your pipes before you start sopping up water. And that is one of his questions, and I think it's a good one. And he said, if the government does not know how many illegal aliens are in the country, much less who they are, how in heaven's name are they going to know which ones qualify for the amnesty? You know, stolen Social Security numbers, our Social Security system has got to be in a tremendous mess. You know, you will find people with a dozen of them, you know, that they've bought in a flea market, and they just, you know, they throw one away and get another one. There was a bar over in Kansas that was raided, and they found matricular counselor cards stuffed in the plants there and all kinds of things, you know, that they're using to get benefits and whatever in our country, because we don't check everything. We make laws and then we don't enforce them, we don't check them.
And there's no question Claire does not support amnesty and believes that we need to do what we can to secure the border, and has spent time and effort in passing that legislation that provides, I think, $600 million more to additional border security. That's over and above what is their annual budget to do that. And we've got to hold these employers accountable. We just have to.
Yes, we do. I mean, that's the whole problem, is the Chamber of Commerce and these others that are open in the world, in education. They're worrying about how to educate our children. And how can a teacher realistically teach, you know, I've heard Olathe has, I don't know, there's hundreds of different, 100 and some languages, or 50 languages, or even 15 languages. How can a teacher teach a class?
Well, I mean, don't you think that our country is struggling to be at the top of our game when it comes to education, even in schools where there's only one language spoken?
But we're doing a pretty poor job of it right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is even in schools where we have the resources and there aren't the diverse challenges, we're still struggling. So I don't know the answer to your question, but I think that we've got a lot of work to do in a lot of areas in our country, and you know, I think Senator McCaskill is very realistic about what our challenges are, and she's very committed to making sure that we put our resources and our time and our effort to deal with those challenges. So.
Well, you know, when I hear them talk about education, they leave the most important thing out as far as I'm concerned. I never hear anything about the parents. If you have parents that won't go to the teachers' meetings and PTA and be involved with their children in school, you're not going to succeed in a lot of your plans. You have to get those parents and make that public.
Right, but that can't be legislated.
But you can certainly suggest it. You can mention it when you're talking about this. They can't legislate it. But I never hear that mentioned. I never hear very seldom do I hear, I should say.
I have 2 children in school and I hear it mentioned a lot.
But with the government or in your school?
Oh, with people, you know, all kinds of people, regardless of profession, and certainly with, you know,
I just think it needs to be.
I think that most elected leaders understand that providing a quality education for our kids requires multiple layers, and some of that the school and the government can provide, and some of that has to be provided at home. So no question.
Maybe it's the media that just leaves it out, but I think that's a very important. If you're not involved in your children's education, it means you don't care, so they don't care.
Yeah, well.
So. Okay.
We've certainly got a lot of challenges.
We do have, and I fear for what's going to happen in our country. I really do. I'm very concerned. About, you know, I will survive. I'm an old lady, but my children and my grandchild is going to suffer, you know, and they already are to a point. You know, wages are way below what, you know, the cost of living goes up, the wages go down for the vast amount of the people.
And don't you think that fundamental to our country is figuring out what is going to be the next, how we can move forward and help stimulate the kind of job growth, the good-paying jobs that can take our people in our country forward, and certainly that's a challenge. And you know, I think that Claire is committed to addressing those needs and trying to figure out a way forward. And I think it's not just our elected officials who have to be committed to it, but it's all of us.
I mean, we are very generous. We let in a lot of immigrants.
I can assure you Claire is thinking about the immigrants.
And I think it's starting to hurt the country, where we have to start thinking about who we're going to let in and will it benefit the country.
Yeah.
And I do not think this amnesty, and it is an amnesty, back door, front door, whatever, it is an amnesty that's being voted on. So, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time and listening to me rant and rave, but
My pleasure.
I'm very passionate about this. I've been, you know, when I finally figured out after 1986 that it just wasn't working, and still streaming in, so it's a big concern of mine.
I appreciate you took the time to come.
Okay, and thank you for listening.